Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I am presenting you my budget Cosmo deck. So you already see there's no demise Cosmos, there's no pot of extravagance in the deck. It's basically just like no trap tricks, just a standard variant that you can play if you feel like this deck is interesting. If you want to play a first turn deck that just doesn't spam out a board of negates but actually disrupts a little bit more and has a little bit more tactical sense behind it, then this is the deck you want to go for. But if you want to try it out first without putting too much money into it, that is the variant that you can go for. You can still add stuff like Heart of Demise in. It's really easy to change the deck because it's not much different. It's just going to have a little bit of different trap cards and a little different monster ratio. But in total, it's going to be somewhat the same deck. Talking about the price while we're at the whole budget topic, the deck is fairly expensive for a deck that been that old and actually received a fair amount of reprints. Like Dark Eclipse still expensive card, Dark Destroyer still somewhat, well, not expensive but pricier card. Cosmo Dark Lady is not cheap. Tin Can definitely not cheap. Cosmojo isn't cheap. So with this whole core deck, you'll probably be around like 60 till 80 bucks minimum, I would say. It's worth every cent in my opinion because this deck actually can compete on quite a higher level. It's not super meta relevant if you don't play like artifact engines, trap trick, and all those kind of crazy cards that really help. Like the pot, because your extra deck is non-existent. You don't have to run any extra deck. This is the only cards you have to run. Everything else is bonus. Everything else you can but don't need to run, in my opinion. So that what makes this deck a little bit cheaper in my kind of thoughts for you guys. So I'm trying to get the best value in. Starting out with one Dark Eclipse, so you don't have to run the card, but it's really strong against a lot of like rogue trap decks at the moment. It's not once per turn. It doesn't float, but it gives you access to when it gets destroyed to any other Cosmo monster in your deck, basically. So that card in general already is pretty strong. Dark Destroyer, obviously, being able to hit during opponent's turn, sniping cards from his board can be super strong. All the cards cannot be targeted since the meta has shifted away from like strong boss monsters that have super protection. A lot of people only run like targeting removal these days, and this deck basically just craps on this because like you have to run over them in battle at one point, and if you destroy them they still float. So this deck can come in clutch a lot. I run double Forerunner because I kind of want to utilize with this variant a little bit the floating effect of them, because you can actually go into a lot of them if you, for example, don't have your summon limit, or you actually just want to block a little bit till you can get some plays out in your turn, not instantly go from Dark Destroyer to Slip Rider. Then there's a few steps in the middle. This card can give you some life points, which can come in handy in time, for example. Dogfighter, a card that's in between because it's a level 6, level 7, and level 5. So you have that kind of range going on if you want to as well. Plus, it could help you with OTK since you can get a token on board. Slip Rider, getting rid of back row, can be used to destroy your own Cosmo Town, if I'm not mistaken, because it just says on the field, and get your search off with that. One Cosmo Dark Lady, she's like a mixture between pilot and one of the ships, actually, because she's a pilot technically, but she's not a normal summonable pilot, so you can still special summon her with the pilots. So there's that kind of interaction. That's why I guess she has a different name than everybody else. But it's a monster negate, and she can swap her out afterwards if you still have a ship in hand. So I really like this card. Kozmo Wicked Witch, a card that not a lot of people play anymore, I feel, but in my opinion, pretty strong because you can float into her, and this is a good last card to float into because you can make this card be protected from card destruction, battle destruction. So actually you can like block with her till it's your turn, and you can maybe get into a ship in your hand again with Cosmo Town, since you probably banished a few, or those kind of things. So I really like ending up on Wicked Witch rather than anything else because that card actually helps you. Double Farm Girl just to bump up the count of pilots, plus the effect is neat if you can get it through. It's going to be kind of hard these days to do so, but who knows, in general, quite a neat card. Sword Troopers is a comeback card. Since it's somewhat searchable with stuff like Emergency Teleport, and you can summon it out of the deck if you know your opponent can't destroy it anymore, then that card basically gives you more plays into the next turn. You can get stuff out of your graveyard. Sadly, only a psychic type monster, so it's not super good. You could cut the card if you don't want it. It's not helping you get like your Dark Destroyer out. Unlike I think Strawman can actually just get one banished Cosmo monster back, but the effect doesn't trigger. I mean, the end phase destroys itself, so it floats a little bit again and again. So that's why I run this card at 2 rather than Sword Troopers. Sword Troopers is for your link plays. If you really need to go into the nightmares, then that card helps you more. Tin Can, one of the best cards in the deck. I feel like a lot of people run them at 2. I feel like at 3 it's adding a little bit of consistency. Problem is, if it gets Ash, then you're kind of in an annoying situation with this deck. But this card basically being able to fill up your graveyard, setting up for certain combos then, and also adding one of the ships to your hand, so you already have a card to summon with Tin Can, is pretty strong in my opinion. Reasoning basically to get monsters on board, maybe bait Ash for example, that can be helpful with this card as well. Plus you're on so many different level monsters. Chances are that you're gonna get it through are quite high, so that's what I like about this card. Terraforming to search your field spell unbricks you, your field spell adds card back to your hand, and you can search if it gets destroyed. So all in all, pretty good. Emergency teleport helps you get another pilot, which you really need. Torrential tribute, since your monsters like float, that can be quite devastating. Ripping the field of like Salamangreat at the start, for example, can be quite annoying for their place, and then you can go in for the OTK or for some more damage and like build up more control. So Torrential Tribute, all in all, felt like a good choice for this deck, and I think it was been played back in the days as well, and it's a cheaper option rather than going for Traptic or the whole artifact engine. Double return to the front lines, you would run a triple, but the thing is, if you draw into 2 of them and you can't get any graveyard setup, this card's just bare useless. If you draw into 2 summon limit or 2 torrential tribute and 2 crackdown, it is still useful in a sense. So this card more situational, obviously very helpful to get in Dark Destroyer or Slip Rider out of the graveyard disrupt, but in total it's a little bit more important to have like disruptive traps at this point. Double Cosmojo, also a thing. If you don't have a Kosmo monster on board, this can happen. This deck tends to brick from time to time, since you don't run the super consistency cards with Card of Demise and Pot of Extravagance. It's still a good card. You could cut it down to 1 if you want to. I think it's a pretty good card. Plus, also have a play if you don't want to lose your monster, or you have a monster that can't float anymore. You can still use it with Wicked Witch, because Wicked Witch cannot be destroyed by card effects, not just your opponent card effects, and you have to destroy it. I don't know. The problem with this is I don't know if the effect then triggers. You guys in the comments maybe can tell me if you chain this to it, because it says like if you do banish 1 card your opponent controls, so I'm not sure if you have to destroy it. So this combo could be total bullshit. I wasn't sure. I wasn't able to find this out because it never came up in testing. Ruling wise, it looks like it wouldn't work, but that's just something I had in mind. Summon limit, obviously you don't summon too much. You can, but you don't have to. Your deck gets along with 2 summons a turn, because you do a lot of your plays in your opponent's turn as well, but it hits a lot of meta decks like super hard. And obviously still you can side it out if anything happens that you're playing against a deck like Subterra Stun, then possibly you don't need that card. Crackdown, a pretty good card, disrupting your opponent instantly, and if he destroys the card then it's kind of useless because it just gets it back. But other than that, you can actually use it in your turn to like tribute summon use the monster you stole as tribute, and tribute summon cards like Dogfighter, Slip Rider, or Dark Lady. So that can come in handy if you bricked a little bit. Solemn Warning, just a card that stops pendulum summons, those kind of shenanigans a little bit. So I felt like that would have been a good card to actually counter certain decks that could go more for a mass special summon at one point. That's the deck. You can run the side tech wherever you want to. I felt like sometimes Called by the Grave can be important. One card that I felt like had a chance in this deck is Limiter Removal, since your ships are all machine monsters, and if they pop in the end phase, you float, so it isn't that much of a problem if they get destroyed. Plus, bumping them up to a double attack value can actually come in quite handy OTKing, but it's not really consistent. You could run this card at 1 and just see if it comes up. It's a thing that you could try out. I found that it was quite gimmicky, and I kind of like those gimmicky shenanigans, but I didn't want to include it in the deck because I try to still provide you with the best possible version of the deck that actually still works and doesn't do just only gimmicky kind of things. But I felt like it deserved a mention in this deck profile. If you enjoyed the deck profile, give it a like, subscribe to my channel for more budget content. I'm gonna get at least 1 or 2 videos out, even on archetypes that nobody thinks about. There's going to be a Morphtronic video on my channel. Not the best deck, but it still works. And yeah, I hope you have a good day.